She arrived in Russia, a land of icy winters and boundless ambition, where the grandeur of its palaces mirrored the vastness of its empire. A young princess, summoned from the quiet obscurity of her German duchy, she was thrust into a world she could scarcely have imagined. A world of power, intrigue, and destiny. Born Sophie of Anhalt-Zerbst in a minor German duchy, her early life was unremarkable, marked by the modest expectations of a noble family. Yet, even as a child, Sophie displayed a sharp mind and an insatiable curiosity, traits that would later define her reign. At just 16, she was chosen to marry the heir to the Russian throne, a match that seemed more like a political maneuver than a romantic union. But destiny, as it often does, had grander plans for her. Russia, a land of immense beauty and untapped potential, would become her new home. Its vast forests, mighty rivers, and sprawling cities were a stark contrast to the small, quiet duchy she had left behind. This was no fairy tale transformation. The journey from a foreign princess to the Empress of all the Russias was fraught with challenges, heartbreak, and relentless determination. Catherine, as she would come to be known, was not content to merely exist in her new role. She possessed a keen intellect, an iron will, and an unyielding desire to learn. She immersed herself in Russian culture, mastering its language, studying its history, and understanding its people. She embraced her adopted homeland with a fervor that surprised many. While others saw her as an outsider, Catherine worked tirelessly to prove her loyalty and dedication to Russia. The Russia she entered, however, was ruled by her husband, Peter III, a man whose erratic behavior and disdain for Russian traditions made him deeply unpopular. Peter was ill-suited for the throne. His childish whims and open admiration for Prussia alienated the Russian court and its people, creating a climate of discontent and unrest. His behavior was often erratic, and his inability to connect with the Russian people only deepened the divide between the ruler and the ruled. Catherine, ever observant, watched as the court grew restless. She saw the simmering discontent among the powerful nobles and understood the precariousness of her own position. Her marriage to Peter was sweet, and her feelings uncertain, tied to a man who seemed viewed as unfit to rule. But Catherine was not one to resign herself to fate. She was a survivor, a woman of vision and resolve. Where others saw obstacles, Catherine saw opportunity. She began to cultivate allies, building a network of supporters within the court and the military. With grace and cunning, she navigated the treacherous waters of Russian politics. Then, in a bold and decisive move, Catherine orchestrated a coup. It was swift, bloodless, and masterfully executed, a testament to her strategic brilliance. With the support of the army, she deposed her husband and assumed the mantle of Empress Catherine II of Russia, a title she would hold with distinction. The year was 1762, a turning point not just for Catherine, but for the entire Russian Empire. From that moment on, the young German princess who had once seemed an insignificant figure on the European stage would forever be known as Catherine the Great, a name synonymous with power and enlightenment. Her reign, spanning over 3 decades, would mark a golden age for Russia, a time of cultural flourishing, territorial expansion, and political reform. Under her leadership, Russia grew in strength and influence, becoming a dominant force on the world stage. The story of Catherine the Great is not simply a tale of ambition fulfilled. It is a story of transformation, resilience, and the indomitable spirit of a woman who refused to be defined by her circumstances. It is a testament to the power of will, the allure of intellect, and the enduring strength of a woman who dared to seize her place in history, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire to this day. Catherine the Great's reign coincided with a period of great intellectual ferment in Europe, the Enlightenment. This was a time when the old ways of thinking were being challenged, and new ideas about society, governance, and human potential were taking root. Philosophers, scientists, and writers were questioning traditional authority and advocating for reason, progress, and the rights of individuals. These ideas spread like wildfire among the intellectual elite, sparking debates in salons, universities, and royal courts across Europe. The Enlightenment was not just a philosophical movement, It was a cultural revolution that sought to reshape the very fabric of society. Catherine, a voracious reader and a gifted correspondent, found herself drawn to these revolutionary ideas. She was deeply curious and eager to learn, spending countless hours reading the works of Enlightenment thinkers. Her personal library grew to include thousands of volumes, reflecting her insatiable appetite for knowledge. She corresponded with leading Enlightenment thinkers like Voltaire and Diderot, engaging in lively debates about the nature of government, justice, and the rights of citizens. These exchanges were not merely intellectual exercises. They were a testament to her desire to understand and perhaps implement these ideas in her own realm. But Catherine was not content to simply be a passive observer of the Enlightenment. She saw in its principles a powerful tool for governance and a roadmap for transforming Russia into a modern, powerful, and enlightened state. Her ambition was not just to rule, but to reform. Catherine's vision for Russia was grand. She sought to modernize the empire, bringing it in line with the great powers of Europe. She believed that by embracing Enlightenment principles, she could strengthen her rule while improving the lives of her subjects. Under her patronage, the arts and sciences flourished. Catherine understood the power of culture as a unifying and elevating force. She invited artists, architects, and scientists to her court, creating an environment where creativity and innovation could thrive. One of her most enduring legacies was the founding of the Hermitage Museum. What began as a private collection of art grew into one of the world's greatest art collections, symbolizing Russia's cultural awakening under her reign. Catherine also turned her attention to education, establishing schools and universities to promote learning among her people. Remarkably, she championed education for both boys and girls, a radical notion at the time, reflecting her belief in the transformative power of knowledge. Her legal reforms were equally ambitious. Catherine sought to codify Russian law, making it more consistent and just. She convened a legislative commission to draft a new legal code, drawing inspiration from Enlightenment principles. Although the new code was never fully implemented, it represented a significant step toward modernizing Russia's legal system and demonstrated Catherine's commitment to reform. Beyond law and education, Catherine introduced reforms aimed at improving public health and welfare. She promoted vaccination against smallpox, a groundbreaking measure at the time, and worked to improve sanitation and medical care across her empire. Yet, Catherine's embrace of the Enlightenment was not without its contradictions. While she championed ideas of equality and justice, she remained an absolute monarch, ruling with an iron fist and maintaining strict control over her vast empire. The institution of serfdom, which bound millions of peasants to the land and their aristocratic masters, remained firmly in place during her reign. This glaring contradiction between her ideals and her policies has been a point of contention among historians. Some critics argued that Catherine's reforms were superficial, designed more to enhance her own image as an enlightened ruler than to bring about real change. Her policies often favored the nobility, ensuring their loyalty at the expense of the peasantry. Despite these criticisms, Catherine's reign left an indelible mark on Russian history. Her efforts to modernize and reform her empire, though imperfect, laid the groundwork for future progress. Her patronage of the arts and sciences not only elevated Russian culture, but also connected it to the broader currents of European thought and creativity. Catherine the Great's reign marked a turning point in Russian intellectual history. By opening the country to new ideas and fostering a spirit of inquiry, she paved the way for the cultural blossoming of the 19th century, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire.